Hey everyone, it's Colin from GIY Guy. Thanks for checking out today's video. We're out in the new shed today. In today's video, we're going to be building an herb box. And it's going to be a really simple project, but you can kind of spice it up as much as you'd like. And the reason we're building this is because it's almost August. And in about 2 or 3 months, it's going to be cold. And if you grow your herbs outside, you either have to bring them inside or you have to plant them all over again next year. So the purpose of this little herb planter we're going to do is so you can either grow your herbs outside in the container and then bring them inside easily, or you can just grow them inside year-round and not have to worry about the seasons. So it was actually my lucky day today because I went to Home Depot to run some errands, and turns out they had a whole cart full of scrap lumber that they were just throwing away. They were literally getting ready to cut it up into small pieces with a Sawzall to throw it in the trash. And so I showed up and found all this wood. These are just like pine wall paneling that is actually going to be perfect for this herb box. A little bit dirty, a little bit chipped, but no problem because we're just using it for the garden anyway. So let me show you what we've got going on here with this herb planter. This is basically it. I drew a rough sketch of the herb box itself. You can put like rope handles or metal handles or something, but it's going to be really simple. It's going to be about 16 inches long, 6 inches deep, 6 inches tall. And then basically you've got 2 of the side walls, 2 of the end walls, and then 1 of the bottom plate. And then if you want, you can throw some trim edging around the top, which I'll probably do and show you that in the video. So before we do anything, we need to rip down the lumber because those pine paneling boards that I showed you, they've got like notches and grooves on each side. Little woodworking tip, if you're curious what I was doing measuring the blade, let me show you what I'm doing. Basically, you've got this device here that your board rides against, and what can happen is this can actually get kinked. And so it doesn't look like much, but it can make it so that it's an 1/8 or 1/4 inch difference in width up here versus back here. So what I was doing is just measuring from the I guess rail here to the inside edge of the saw blade. And basically I want to make sure that the inside edge of the front, we've got 2.5 inches for example, is the same as the back. And so right now it's about a 1/16 difference, so I'm just going to nudge the back a little bit this way, and then we've got 2.5 wide and 2.5 wide. Ideally, if we were all rich and could afford it, we'd just build all our planters and raised beds out of beautiful cedar wood because it's insect and moisture resistant. It doesn't rot as easily. It probably lasts 8 to 10 years as opposed to pine, which raw pine like this, uncoated, unprotected, is going to last 2 to 3 years outside. I made just a bean trellis at the Greensboro house, and after about 2 years, about one and a half years, 2 growing seasons, it was already starting to rot out. The screws and everything were starting to break out of the wood. So I didn't treat it with anything, and I was just curious how long it would last, and 2 to 3 years is about what you can expect. So there are a couple things you can do to prolong the life of your wood. You can use it on cedar, but specifically we'll be talking about pine. The first one is linseed oil. So you can just get a can of natural linseed oil and just coat the wood with a paintbrush or something. And what that does, it absorbs into the wood, into the grain, and it prevents water from absorbing into the wood and rotting it out. The other method you can use is put some sort of liner on the inside of your planter or your raised bed. You can use, like I've seen people use corrugated steel, like kind of the roofing stuff on the inside of a planter or raised bed. You can do like a rubber or plastic liner. Basically anything that keeps the dirt from coming in direct contact with the wood. Anyway, enough with the wood protection lesson. So I'm going to cut 2 boards that are 16 inches long. I'm going to go ahead and 45 the ends right here. And then I'll cut 2 more that are 5 or 6 inches long. And I'm going to do the same thing, 45 those. So basically we'll have the side walls of our rectangle planter. And then we'll go ahead and measure the inside dimensions, cut out that bottom plate, and get everything assembled. So I grabbed this piece. This is the longest one I had, and this side is in really nice condition. We should be able to get all 4 walls and the bottom plate for the herb box out of this one piece. All right, at this point you've got your 4 boards, 16 inches, and I think we did this 6 inches. and then I 45 the ends so they'll fit together like this and you don't have a visible end, which is always nice. What you'll need next is some wood glue. I've got Gorilla Glue, and then I've got 1 1/4 inch brad nails. This should be plenty. You're kind of just tacking the wood in place until the glue dries because the glue will be plenty strong. Now we're gonna nail it together. So with these brad nailers, one word of caution, don't air your tank up past 120 PSI. That's the absolute maximum. It says on your, probably says right here on the top actually, 120 PSI max. I blew out my air gasket or my air seal in the first Porter and Cable one I had because I put it to 125. Basically the trigger just stopped shooting air and the whole thing was just toast. But now we're basically going to make sure we have nails, which we've got a few. Then we're going to lay down the sides here in the way we've got it. Blow off some dust here and glue it. You got to find that point where it's like you're generous enough because the wood soaks up some of it, but you're not so generous that it's going to squeeze out the edge. It can squeeze out the inside edge because that won't be showing, I suppose. I think the first one is ready. Oh yeah, nice. Just gonna do 4 nails. I love brad nailers because you don't have to drill starter holes because, you know, they go in so fast and small that they don't risk cracking the wood. Go ahead and do this other end. Last piece. Now I'm going to take the inside measurements and cut that piece. So since my box is about 3/4 inch thick, each wall is 3/4 inch thick, and I hate it when the overhang is on the inside of the box. Like when they do something like this, and then dirt just gets under there, and it's a waste of space. Like why are you covering your dirt? That's good growing space. So I want my overhang to be on the outside. I'm probably just gonna have it overhang by probably a 1/2 inch. We'll start with that and see how we like it. So that would mean I need to cut my pieces about 1 1/4 inches wide. Whoops. I killed the cameraman. Well, there we go, ladies and gentlemen. Here is the almost finished herb box, except for the detailing. But these are some really tight 45s. Everything looks really good, no big gaps. Even on the outside corners here, it looks really nice. I tried to keep all the nail holes on the ends, so when you have this just sitting in your living room or wherever you have it on a shelf or windowsill or something, you won't have any nail holes there. Got this nice looking groove design there. And then the last thing I'm going to do is probably use a wood burner, aka a soldering iron for an engineer. And I'll probably do like DIY herbs or something down here on the side. Now the next thing to do is stain it. So I chose to use a white stain. It's the same thing I used on my windowsill shelves. It's just a semi-transparent, simply white Minwax. So I'm going to go ahead and paint the whole thing with stain. I've got a couple blocks to raise it up on. One comment, if you got any wood glue that seeped out some of the edges, you want to sand that off because stain does not absorb into glue. It's going to look like white paint when you put it on, but then most of it's going to wipe off after you let it sit for a little bit. If you watch my windowsill video, it gives you a really good idea of what this stain looks like. I think I even did a separate video just to show what white stain looks like because I thought it'd be helpful to people that are doing any remodeling or something. The wood's going to soak up the stain as you go, so if you need to, hit a spot again, don't worry about it. It's not a big deal. I've already started to wipe some of it off. The wood burn actually, these cracks kind of filled in with some of the stain, and it's just a little bit white, so I'll have to go back over those. Now the stain's pretty much dry. The last thing we're gonna do before we put the herbs in and fill it with dirt is add some rope handles. So I went to Home Depot. They actually had the perfect style of rope. It's a 3/8 inch 50-foot spool of Everbuilt. It's only $5, but you can see it's kind of got that just a natural look. So I'm gonna cut 2 lengths of rope 14 inches long. You can always cut rope off if you don't need it, but you can't add it. So better to have too much than not enough. I'll set this out at about 14 inches. Take a knife and slice it. And not slice your finger off. I went ahead and marked my holes. I did about 1.5 inches from the bottom of this lip and 1.5 inches from each side, and then the same on the back here. But now we've got our 3/8 inch bit, which will fit our 3/8 inch rope, hopefully. And now we're gonna go ahead and drill these out. If I go to tie the ropes like this, I'm gonna have a really big knot, and I'm gonna try to keep it small. So what I've done is just unbraided it a little bit, and what I'm gonna do is actually tie these 3 small strands together. Hopefully that'll give us a smaller knot, and since the hole is the perfect size, even a smaller knot won't pull back through. So then we're left with 2 things like that, and trust me, it's gonna be a lot smaller knot than knotting the entire rope. So after all that, if you've made it this far in the video, you should have something like this. Perfect length handles, they look really nice, and you can add whatever designs on the outside you want, and it's really sturdy, really cute, perfect size for about 3 or 4 herbs. Now we're gonna fill it, and that'll be the end of the video. Well, that's all I've got for today's video. Hope you enjoyed it. Hit that like and subscribe button. Looks like you can fit about 3 herbs comfortably in here, and it weighs about 10 or 12 pounds when it's full of dirt. So with that, keep growing yourself, and I'll catch you in the next one.